I know we've talked about this a little bit, but some people say that GamerGate was mostly or entirely right wing. What do you think of that?
Obviously, I'm not right wing. I'm very leftist, and so are you. We know statistically from our self polls that when we took the political compass, we were very broadly left in the green anti authoritarian version. I think some people, I don't know, because like I said, I started following a whole bunch of right wingers, which I do not recommend. Um, I do think to some degree some people got more right wing, not because of pipeline, but because they got jaded. Like if people you think are your friends who do not listen to you a lot, and again, yes, this is what happened with me and feminists, and they just constantly are like, you're a bad person because of X. Eventually, you're just gonna be like, fuck it, I'm joining the other team. Just fuck it. At least they don't call me like horrible names as much, you know. And I think to some degree that happened. I think a lot of people. I know everybody I was in uh, sort of circle with in early in Gamergate was very left wing, obviously, and that was why I tried to add more right wingers to my repertoire. Um, Also, I think it needs to be said again. I don't think the majority of Gamergate was even American, and that's a common American thing. We tend to assume everybody is American and the whole world is revolves around us, and there was a lot of British, obviously, a lot of like big name British people, and that was even just like the English sphere. I know many South Americans I met through Gamergate. My friend, who, let's call them pro Gamergate, even though they weren't like as involved. The one in Spain, she's in Spain. Like she's, I think it would be unfair to call her right wing. Like she's not as left wing as a lot of Spain is, but only because Spain is considered one of like the most left countries, especially in Europe, where it's already pretty left.
How much to
So yeah,
Catalonia?
yeah, right.
Did I just dog whistle?
Oops.
I'm not an anarchist though. I'm really not. I'm pretty. I mean, I really respect George Orwell, and
Yeah, I thought it was so funny when a whole bunch of right wingers were like, he would never be an Antifa. And I'm like, literally linking them his history because I loved his essays. I read them like years and years, decades ago. So I was just literally linking him. He was literally in the first Antifa.
well, I
It's where
mean,
he met all the communists. Well, he was. He was in
he was a
Spain's
soldier in
Antifa
Spain. Though he was also very critical of the Spanish side though too.
of the communists. Yeah, the
Yeah,
communists because
yeah.
they were also in Antifa with
But like,
him,
I don't like
and they
it's not.
literally said we need to deal with him, and he like got shot. But he was literally in Antifa.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think I would call the Spanish Republicans like, and even the anarchists, Antifa necessarily. They're not like equivalent to the modern day. Like
They were. They were
I'm gonna go
against. They
punch
were
Ben
against the
Shapiro.
literal fascists.
Like the modern Antifa people, like a lot of them are just like, I'm gonna go punch Ben Shapiro at this college. LOL. Like that's like
Well,
modern
that's also what
Antifa.
I was. Okay, so that's what I kept telling my friend who's in Comic Gates, who's an artist. Like I've met Antifa people, and like when I was like very young, and they'd tried to recruit me and stuff, and like they're not a real threat. They're just kind of like larpers. Now I did meet someone who said that they had been jumped by real Antifa outside of college because they were wearing like their army uniform and things. I choose to believe him. Nevertheless, most Antifa in like 2023 or even 2019 or 2020 are not, they're just kind of like larping. Like they're like, yeah, I'm hardcore. Let's go punch, a Nazi in the face. Like don't do that. Like one, don't commit violence. Two, that just feeds into their, obvious persecution complex. You don't need to. Like they punch themselves in the face. Come on.
True, but I guess what you're saying, sir. George Orwell was 1,000% an anti-fascist. Unfortunately, I feel like people on the internet now use that word and just throw it around like crazy. And they're like,
Yes.
oh, anti-fascist means that you want to like censor all discussion from right-wingers through violence and black bloc tactics. It's like, holy shit, dude, what? Hang on, I don't like Nazis, but maybe you
Hey,
guys are
now
being
the
kind of
only black
anti-free
flag
speech.
tactics that were used were by the fascists in Portland, Oregon. Homeland Security literally black bagged people.
Yeah. Well, do you think that
Took
the?
them
Oh my
arrested.
God, I was about to ask you if you think that the Spanish Republicans were right. Jesus Christ, holy fuck! You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. What do you think of the Spanish Civil War?
Why? No, I don't think that. No, like I'm with Orwell on this.
Oh wait, no, Orwell was a Republican though, a Spanish Republican.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
he was at the anarchist
thinking.
faction, I believe, right? Or he worked with the anarchist faction at least.
Right, he did. Yes. I I don't know. I'm far from an expert on Spanish history. I will defer to my Spanish actual friends because it's their history, and I'd rather they not talk about America's Civil War without like being like, no, no, go ask Susie. Or unless they're just like, yeah, obviously the North knew what the fuck they were doing. They were like, let's go free slaves. Which, to be fair, the North was not. And I say this as like someone who lives in the town where Eli Whitney was trying to make the cotton gin to help make slavery obsolete.
Somebody in the chat asks, "Are we going to talk about how Antifa attacked the courthouse the federal courthouse for months?" No, but we are going to talk about the Spanish Civil War. I know.
GamerGate, where we stay on topic really
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah, this is other GamerGate interview by the way. No, some Koretsky's I feel was very tight. That was a very tight. But like Pucka
It
Shop,
was,
I was like way off. We went for like 5 hours, which is fine. Just like this, it's fine.
yeah,
I'm totally cool going long. Like I
yeah.
tried for a while scheduling like two back to back, and I'm like, no, we can't do that. Thankfully it didn't end up working because the other person had to
I
reschedule.
think I
But
think Koretsky learned from his Oliver Campbell like 6 hour stream.
well, Koretsky convinced me on something, by the way, and I might. What the hell? Ask your feedback on it. I might be interviewing a third-party troll who harassed people on both sides.
Okay.
Do you have any suggestions for how I should approach this?
Remember, he's not going to take it super seriously, so don't worry if you don't.
Oh no, no! I feel like that's terrible advice. I feel like I have to take it super seriously.
Really?
I feel like I
I
feel
don't.
like
I think that leans into letting him just troll you and everyone else and make a mockery of it.
well, I mean, he can do that if he wants, but like I feel like I have to take it seriously and like I have to be good at guiding the conversation. But I also like I want to really actually understand what's the mindset, what's the culture that you were in that led you to do these things? Like what was it like doing it? Why'd you do it?
Fun?
What was but I also want to be like super respectful in the way I handle it too because
Sure.
I don't want to obviously like give the impression that I support his actions or that they were justified
Right.
or give him the attention even necessarily. Right? So it's a complicated, nuanced thing I'm trying to handle in an ethical way and but it's also I
Hmm.
feel an important part of the story. I feel like
I
the
think
fact that there were these third party trolls that like did legit harass
yes,
people on both sides, I feel like that's an overlooked part of the story. And if I could do that well as an
absolutely.
act of journalism, I think that'd be good. And I think maybe the troll's gonna come in here and he's gonna be like, I love harassing women. I was the leader of GamerGate. I harassed all the women every day. That's my
He'll
job
be
as a
he'll
GamerGator, right? He could say that and troll, right? Or maybe he'll be like, you know
like
what? Fuck it. I'm gonna talk
he'll
about
be
the
like Kanye
psychology of being a
West.
troll, and maybe he'll take it seriously too. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, good luck. Don't like I don't know. Maybe like if you enjoy being serious, that's fine. Just like don't like beat yourself up if you can't do it the way you want.
Well,
That's the only way to handle like pure chaos like they exude. Like I say this as both a chaotic good person in my opinion and like also like someone who dealt with a lot of the trolls. Like I would talk with them in their chats and stuff and like I would just like read it and I'm not gonna lie, like some of the stuff they did to the journalists was so hilarious. Like the stuff they did with the BuzzFeed journalist, I laughed really hard
Oh
because it was
no, don't say that because I literally interviewed the guy who
insane.
I interviewed a man in maroon. Do you know him?
Yes,
He's one of the people who got framed by the troll who trolled
right.
BuzzFeed. and,
Yes.
and like one of the GamerGate guys, a man in no, who was it? One of the other Keller Cabal people. They actually like got super scared and like had to go offline because they were worried
Oh,
for their future and their reputation because of this troll doing that to BuzzFeed. And like because they got framed.
I do feel bad about that. That
So
is
like
sad.
obviously it's like a terrible, really shitty situation, but it is kind
Yeah,
of
that
I
is
understand
rough.
it's kind of funny because they literally tricked BuzzFeed into printing this troll article out, and like
And they just like took it way too serious. Like BuzzFeed just took it too seriously. Like they did not sit there and go, obviously their answers are completely nonsensical and therefore not like valid or real. Like if you were doing that with anything else in any other topic in journalism, you would not have a career. Like and you really shouldn't. Like imagine doing that with like the Iraq war. Okay? Utterly insane.
oh it is insane. But it's insane and they shouldn't have a job, of course. But
Yeah.
it's interesting too. Like how do we think about something like this? Because like from an outsider or even like an insider, it's like holy cow, this is hilarious. Like how the fuck
Yeah.
did this supposedly professional journalist allow this
Exactly.
troll to dupe them so bad
And
that they were like talking about how the Keller Cabal is the leader of Gamergate and they all hate women. It's like holy, like I don't know what the fuck was all in the article. It's like 10 years ago now.
there
But
was also one about like them like shoplifting during like Philadelphia like protests and
but like
stuff
one person
for
like the Keller Cabal people's reputation actually was like damaged by this, and
yeah.
like one of them got like super scared and like had to like go offline because they felt they had
Yeah.
to. They felt they had to because they were worried that like people are gonna be like, hey, wait, aren't you with that Keller Cabal group, the leaders of Gamergate that harass women? And it's like it was all fake, of course. Like it
Yeah.
had real world consequences, kind of like for one person who and that's like not good. You know, it's you could say it's fun in
Agreed.
games, but actually that's not the troll's fault. That's BuzzFeed's fault.
Agreed.
Really, I mean,
I, I
really.
I definitely think that's and not just the writer, but also the editor. And
Oh,
they did
thousand
this
percent.
also with like they did this with some of the false rape accusations too, and that was something I had been trying to point out before Gamergate, and got a bit more touchy on during Gamergate because it became more clear to me how common this was.
So you've become more left wing since Gamergate. Do you think that's
Yes.
because of Gamergate?
No. Uh I'm honestly gonna say in spite of Gamergate, not because like, oh, Gamergate is a funnel to the left wing to the right wing. I'm going to say it's in spite of because um I certainly followed more right wingers, like I said, because I was like, oh no, I'm creating myself an echo chamber and it's terrible. I don't wanna like bubble and oblivious to what's going on with like, like I actually knew like a lot about what was coming up with the January 6th insurrection. And I was like saying like right after uh the election and when like it was very clear that Trump had not won. I was like, what do you mean we're not done until it's sworn in? What are you talking about? And I started flipping out. I was like, we're not done and we have like 2 more months and everybody needs to start really like being on guard. And I was but only because I was like following the absolute lunatics. Uh I think it's in spite of because of like in spite of my media diet, in spite of what I was doing, and also because like I am very stubborn, and the more people try to like push me in a direction, the more I like push back very hard. Which, so why did I switch on to becoming part of Gamergate? Again, because I read the Zoe post, like straight up. It was very in my face, undeniable facts. I couldn't be in denial with it. It was just too clear. Um, when it came to like politics and things, I think I was post Occupy Wall Street. I wasn't more left wing, but I was trying to sort of like figure out like this has not worked the way we thought. The left wing is definitely not having a presence among the Democratic Party. What can we do? My fiance was already starting to vote with the Green Party because he was just like, screw it. At least if they get 5%, they get the money and more publicity and more help with getting further and some of their policies enacted. When it came to voting for Hillary Clinton, I just wouldn't. I was just like, she's not giving the left wing anything. She took a different lesson from Obama and has like pulled a, John McCain, where she's going more right wing because of her loss in the primary. And I was
Well,
very
hang on.
frustrated with,
Hillary won the primary.
yes, not against Obama, I meant. So
Oh,
when she
you mean oh
ran,
wait. I'm sorry.
yes.
Okay.
So when she ran again in 2016, I couldn't vote for her. So I actually voted for Jill Stein, Green Party. And I was like, I'm very much getting more left wing. I think I wouldn't say Trump made me more left wing, but it certainly made me a lot stronger about talking to my representatives and such. I had moved to New York for 2 years, and I learned I had to establish like a rapport. I have already got a rapport with my parents' town's representative, Jim McGovern, and I still owe him a thank you note. He helped me with the mice situation, and that probably saved my life right now. So I have to send him a thank you note. But I started learning more about like the ways in which to talk to politicians and things. And like I said, in 2016, I voted for Jill Stein instead of Hillary Clinton, and I voted Howie Hawkins in 2020. But I actually think I'll probably vote Biden coming up because he's been following what I wanted and doing a much better job than I ever thought he would. So I'm just kind of like, you know what? Yeah, you fucking earned it. Good job. Uh,
Oh,
why
it's
do
it's
I say
Jover. It's Jover.
so? In spite of Gamergate, just because again, like I would, I think I was more on a trajectory to calm the fuck down, not get more left wing extremist. Um, and I think most people in Gamergate were more like, all right, calm down, Cece. In general, and like we said, I would have been very anti certain people on like figureheads and stuff, been on the point of we should prove what they're saying and so forth. Um, but Gamergate was more mellow. My father's friends are mellower than both him and me. We're very kind of extremist. I so yeah, I definitely personally got much more left wing. I also followed more journalists because of Gamergate. Now that is literally because of Gamergate, because it also had a lot of journalists who are actually like, I actually do care about ethics in journalism. And I was like, go on. And if they checked out where, yeah, they're following everything I asked for, yeah, I kind of have to follow them, right? Like, otherwise, I'm a fucking liar. So So I definitely follow a lot more journalists than I ever did before. And I was like trying very hard. Like even at what I said, I used to follow only uh, other nationals or newspapers because American newspaper tends to be the worst. It is not good at dissecting conversations and tends to go with fads and we've had problems like Bill Clinton created the media problem where they're just all buying up the smaller ones and eating them and cannibalizing them, and it's bad. But I found more journalists, and I found following journalists instead of newspapers works better for me. It is also a lot easier when I'm not having to like translate out of French and Spanish, which I'm not fluent in either. I just have like enough to scrape by, and I have to like look up a lot of the words because I don't have the vocab for a lot of things. So that helps. And then, yeah.
Yeah, I
So even that, I am much more to the left of all the journalists I think I follow. Like, I don't think there's I used to follow Lee Camp before the Russia Today stuff happened, because he was on Russia Today, and he would be the only journalist I would say I would. And he's not a journalist; he's a comedian, but he would be the only person I would say was to the left of me.
yeah, I was a bit more conservative, I guess, growing up.
Yeah,
Well, more not really conservative. I was more libertarian. Like I voted for Ron Paul in the primary in 2012. Then I voted for Gary Johnson, and then in 2016, I didn't know what I was gonna do because I'm like, man, I don't really like Hillary. I don't really like Trump. Um, I voted for Bertie in the primary, and then I voted for Gary
yeah,
Johnson in the Libertarian candidate in the general.
yep,
I even considered briefly. I was like, this Trump guy when he first entered the scene. I'm like, this Trump guy. Maybe burning it all down is a good idea. And I'm like, no, actually, I don't think burning it down is all a good idea.
yeah,
This guy seems like
yeah.
he's
I
kind of a
keep
bit
going.
racist. He doesn't
Yeah,
seem great. Like I can't pull the lever on this, even if I do want to burn down the system. And I'm not. I used to be a populist, right? And then
yeah,
I voted for Andrew Yang in 2020, and then Biden in the general. And I'm much more of a I guess you call it like a neoliberal cuck or whatever now. Like I'm like a somewhere between like a neolib and a social democrat. Like I
sure.
think markets are good. I think capitalism is good, but we need to regulate it. We should have like a social safety net. But like maybe not everything has to be like a super universal program.
Yeah,
Like universal healthcare is good. But like do we need to have like universal higher education? Maybe. I think that's an interesting idea. But like I'm okay if we say, hey, look, let's just have anyone. So Destiny has this view, and I think it's a pretty strong argument that like let's formulate our principles and then work back from there for the policy. So for universal higher education, um, he might say that one of our principles is that anyone who wants to go to school and like is driven and willing to do the work should probably have the opportunity to go to school. Money shouldn't be an obstacle there. I think I would agree with that. I don't know if you would.
yes. Although, okay, so the hardcore book I'm working on is a complete revamp of economics. It's like capitalism, but it's like capitalism 2.0 because we've never had the sheer connectivity and amount of population in all of human history that we have now. And it's going to continue on this trajectory. And we need to update our economic systems to work within it rather than outdated, obsolete systems that are easily taken advantage of. And one of the things I was also like, I'd written up a whole bunch of things where I was going to like take the notes I'd written up and put them into videos again, plans, but I couldn't stream for a long time. I couldn't go 5 minutes without coughing and dying. So it didn't happen, but I still have the notes. One of them was just literally explaining like the problems with communism and etc. And I was kind of like, I was just going to do it as a video because it's been done. There's like so many books outlining it. I don't consider it a necessary function. But again, this is how I met with a lot of tankies because that I was very, very capitalist, and I still am, but I think it needs to be updated because we are not currently in a system that is prepared for the technology and population we have. One of the things communists will constantly say, though, is that the natural state of communism, of capitalism, is that it's obviously abusive and inherently so. Whereas I believe the opposite. I believe communism inherently creates that abuse network, and historically, that is absolutely the case. Whereas the abuse in capitalism is because of loopholes that create themselves in a constant like caste system that gets inherited, and we need to basically start from the ground up in order to recreate capitalism in a way that doesn't allow for that framing. When it comes to education, this is actually why I am writing the economics piece, because I started off when I was very, very young to create a better education system. So in Native American communities and tribes, when you have a wolf in your name, it means you are meant to be a guide or teacher. I took this very, very literally. I was only 8 when I was named it, and I was devastated because I thought the silver part was kind of mocking. I'm very, very pale. I'm like a ghost. And that's not common. Like, I'm the palest person in my family. My one of my brothers is pretty pale like me because he's got the Irish, and we both have cystic fibrosis, which is a genetic mutation even. So it's like not something anyone else in my family has. But for instance, my youngest brother looks kind of Native American. He's very red. He's got that dark tone, is able to actually tan. Me and my twin brother, we cannot tan. So I thought the silver was mocking that, and that the wolf part, like my dad's family is primarily teachers. He's got 5 siblings. Uh, 3 of them are teachers. His mother was a science teacher. And I was just like, I don't want to be a teacher. I thought the name was like the worst. I was very upset about it. They had to explain to me, okay, first of all, the silver is not, it's not mocking my skin. It's because black and white are a Taoist type of thing with the wolves. So a black wolf in Native American mythology is a physical representation, and white is spirit. And they gave me silver for 3 paws towards the sky spiritually, but I'm still kind of grounded. Like the 4th paw is on the ground, and my tail is like balancing me. And the wolf shouldn't be so literal. Aesop, I loved Aesop's fables, and I loved Confucian teachings and fables in general, and storytelling. And they were like, it is storytelling. Jesus was also considered a teacher. He uses the stories to teach lessons. Storytellers are teachers, which is also in Japan. They call manga writers sensei, which means teacher. And so they were explaining, I don't have to teach literally. If you tell stories, you are a guide. And one of the things that I really became obsessed with after that naming ceremony was a way to make education more effective and better, improve it. Because my brothers did not learn how to read very easily, whereas I learned it when I was 4 because I wanted to play D&D with my dad and play video games with him and stuff. So I learned it lickety split. But I was following how they were struggling, and I was trying to help them more, and I was trying to figure out where's the differential, what can I do to make this better. And in order to fix education in America, you have to fix the government. And in order to fix the government, you have to fix the economics. And once you fix the economic system, you fix every problem almost in the world. Like all of the global warming, yeah, that's economics. So what I'm trying to do with the education is certainly update it so that it's more individualized. So recently, one of the things you'll find also in Gamergate, like I don't know if you were part of the Common Core discussion, but a lot of people were talking about Common Core, especially with Gamergate, because they wanted to add Gamergate to the Common Core curriculum, and everyone was like, damn it, you don't even realize Common Core is already a mess. Like, they're messing up math. How do you mess up math? It's been the same for thousands of years. And so there's a lot of discussion about Common Core because Bill Gates and Melinda Gates wanted to make both a worker function for like children to have good workers into the future, and also let's argue on the side of it was altruism, even if it wasn't.
Well, I mean, like,
It
I don't want to
was.
get like too conspiratorial. Like, uh, isn't like the education establishment like divided on like this stuff, and they like some people think it's like a good
Yeah,
idea, and like maybe it is. I don't know.
yeah. It is very divisive. I also have cousins now who are teachers because they're on my dad's side, and like I said, three of his siblings were teachers, and he'll probably go back into teaching when he gets his CFIDS cure. Um, Anyway, so my goal is to also help them. But one of the things that they've also recently found post COVID is the special education classes are the ones that are getting much, much better and advanced and able to all read and pass with 100% literacy. And the public school normal classes are failing dramatically. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but one instance I'm going to emphasize, and this is something I would talk more with Christina Hoff Sommers about because she wrote the book I read on education and how it was failing men. Like I still have
The
that
war
book
on
somewhere.
boys, that one.
Yes.
I've actually, I actually did a paper on that in college.
Well, there you go. But yeah, so one of the problems that they have is when you have a special education problem. So, my family has had several instances of this. In my case, I had cystic fibrosis, but nobody knew it. So we just knew I had some severe health problems like migraines because I wasn't getting enough oxygen, sinus infections, all these other problems like stomach ulcers, like just really bad stuff. And nobody knew what the problem was. Uh, so one of the things is you'll get an IEP. It's called an individual education plan. And so each student with an IEP has their education individually tailored to them. This is something we need to do more broadly speaking, but because we live in a cookie cutter system world, we're doing the opposite. We're just trying to force people to become what we are projecting as our ideal of a person in that cookie cutter, that cookie cutter symbol. The individual education plan accepts no, this person is using a wheelchair and that's okay. Like that does not make them a bad person or that they're not trying hard enough or that they're a failure. They can't run, deal with it. Like they have a wheelchair, that's why they have it. This kind of thing. And it needs to go for even just normal people because in nature is designed with evolution to create variation. That is how all species evolve. They create various mutations, all these different things. And once you start more focusing on that, you can then move the teaching aspect. So right now, one of the biggest teaching aspect problems is teachers aren't paid nearly enough and competitively, certainly not enough. So this is something they talk about with game devs. All the programming teachers who are able to teach programming can get paid like 15 times more in the private sector because they have the skills to be programmers. Why would you teach if you can make that much more money for doing even, I won't 100% say less because I've heard a lot about the grinds and, the death marches in programming. and that's some crazy shit. But yeah, like t- there, teaching is very hard, and you have to be around all hours, and you can get like Karens on your case for any small thing. And so a lot of them also will not even bother telling parents, your son's an absolute idiot. He doesn't even try in class, and that's on you. You're bad a parent.
We're
You
getting a bit
have to
off
sit
topic.
your kid down.
Let's bring it back on
Okay.
track.
Well,
We're
dear,
almost at five
instead
hours.
of like instead of funding like even like college, okay, when it comes to college, I think before even that we need to set up not just IEPs for everybody, but look more at teaching practical skills instead of the sort of Arthur Conan Doyle was always saying like the stuff that they taught him in school was 100% useless, and I get it, like,
Oh my god, we're not even
and
halfway through the interview.
I'm sorry, it's me. Um, but yeah, so when you get to education, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna be writing that
Let's
book, but it's
all right.
gonna
Let's do a lightning. Let's try and get through this because I
lightning
don't want to
round.
be
Let's
here
go.
past midnight. Um. Okay. All right. Some people say that GamerGate was the first battle of the culture war. Do you have any thoughts on this framing?
Culture War didn't start with Gamergate. It started before it. I do think it certainly lit a big fire that is what we currently see of the culture war that the right is trying to frame it as. I do think it also started more with damn it, what's the monkey's name? Harambe.
Harambe started the culture war. Well, not he,
I think so.
not he personally, but the discussion around
Right.
him. Yes.
Yeah. Memes.
What do you think of the framing of Gamergate as a battle within the left between those who believe in small L liberal democratic values and those who don't?
Mm, I don't agree with it. I understand why they're saying it. I agree that, yeah, it can definitely look that way, but I don't think that's what it is.